Okay, hello again. This is the third time I'm going to try shooting this plant walk video. I'm starting off with a lilac just because it's really pretty to look at. So I'm going to take a walk around my yard and show you the different plants that I have growing in my yard that have a variety of herbal uses in them. Okay, we'll start off with Cohosh. This is in a shady spot of my yard because it tends to like a little bit of shade. It also gets tall. The flower spikes get tall, so it's a nice background plant here in my little shade garden I have. But this is what Cohosh looks like. I'll take another video later in the summer when it is bigger and you can see the flower spike on it. It is the root that you use of Cohosh. Okay, moved over just a little bit, and this plant has gotten really big, but it's really cool looking now. This is called soapwort, and it actually can be used to make like a lather. So you can infuse it in oil, and it helps, and then add it to soaps to help get a nice lather on when you're making things like that. Okay, I've walked back into my herbal, my perennial garden, and the first thing we're looking at here is called lovage. Not totally sure on the pronunciation. Looks like that'll get really tall. It's similar to celery. It does have some medicinal uses, but it is also for eating. It'll get really tall, about probably 4 or 5 feet tall. Down right next to it, my Echinacea is starting to come up. Hope you can see that okay. That's an Echinacea. That is Echinacea, and so is that. And I just planted Echinacea angustifolia. There's also Echinacea purpurea, and I intentionally looked for the angustifolia. That's the one that has kind of the better medicinal properties in it. Got some parsley coming up here. This is all from seed. See those little, that's parsley right there. All from seed from plants I planted last year. Parsley is really great for kidney formulas, so I let it go to seed so it would replant itself this year. Okay, this is Plantain. Plantain's a really cool plant, has lots of different uses. It is a mucilage, so when you mash it up or chew it up in your mouth, it has moistening properties. And one of the ways to tell that you have plantain is to turn it over and see the back of the leaf. And when you can see all these veins in the back of the leaf, that tells you that it's plantain. Those straight veins up the whole leaf. And again, this is great for bug bites. So if you're out in the forest or taking a hike and you get bitten by something, you can break off a leaf, chew it up, put it on the bite, and it'll help give you some relief. Right next to it, we've got some chamomile. The chamomile I have is all German chamomile, so kind of a wild chamomile. One of the great things about chamomile is that it reflowers. So as soon as it starts flowering and I pick the flowers, it'll keep giving me more flowers. So I end up with a lot of chamomile blooms by the end of the summer. Next to it here, we've got Horehound. And I've heard from some people they consider Horehound to be invasive. It doesn't send up shoots like raspberries do, so I don't consider it to be invasive. It just spreads outward. This is a perennial that does take some time to become established. This is its second year here, so hopefully I'll be able to harvest some this fall. Alright, I can get, this is comfrey, mullein. So mullein many times is considered a roadside weed, but the flowers are amazing. The leaves have multiple uses. I really like using the flowers in different blends. These were actually growing in my annual garden that I plow every year, and I saw them last fall, and so I transplanted them here so they wouldn't get plowed under come springtime. Walking up, here's a whole bunch of chamomile. Now this is one thing I'm really excited about. So we live in the Intermountain West, in a high mountain valley, not as high as Denver, but close. And so I was hoping to see if Arnica would grow here. Arnica is a mountain growing plant, and I planted it, and sure enough, it has been growing well here in my garden. This is what it looks like when it first comes up. When you see it in the mountains or on trails, it doesn't group together quite so tightly as this. It'll be spread out a little bit more. And it's easy to tell what it is once it flowers, so we'll take another video once it has flowered. There's a whole bunch more over here. And there, all that is Arnica. I'm really excited. I'll get lots of blossoms this year. Right next to it is some Yarrow. Yarrow is also a common, sometimes considered a weed. It grows in the mountains as well. Yarrow has some amazing properties, antimicrobial properties. It also can be used to help stop bleeding. Shepherd's purse is probably more commonly used for that, but it does have that property as well. And I forgot to mention the Arnica, the flowers is the part that you use, and it's used for cuts and bruises and sprains. And it's best to use it as an infused oil. You don't take Arnica internally. It's one of the few plants that shouldn't be taken internally. Yarrow, the flower, is also what is used medicinally. You can see the flower buds are starting to form up here on the top. And we'll take another video when it's ready. Back here along the back I have comfrey. Several plants of comfrey. It also spreads outward. Really great plant. It's grown really well this spring. I am taking this video in May. Today's May 20th, the third time I've taken the video. And it doesn't usually get this big this fast, but we had lots of rain this spring, so it has grown really well. I'm not going to end up using the comfrey this crop of it because I'm not quite ready for it. So what I will do after it's done flowering, it's flowering there, I'll let the bees use it while it's flowering. I'll cut it down and use it as compost, give a little bit to my chickens, and then it will regrow again, and I will use that to dry. Now over here I have rhubarb, just used for eating, but fun to see how big it is too. It's huge. I need to start sharing some with my neighbors. Now in the back corner here I have sunchoke. This is a food plant, or Jerusalem artichoke is another name for it. It's a tuber, so you use the tuberous root to eat. It's starchy, similar to potatoes. I have it planted all along here. I planted it along the fence because it does get quite tall, so that the wind doesn't bother it as it gets taller. Here's the raspberries. Raspberry leaves are best used in the spring when as they get bigger, on the first year canes. So a first year cane in here would be this one. This is a second year cane because it's got this peeling bark on it. This is the cane that's going to give fruit this year. This cane is not going to give fruit, so I'll take the leaves off of this cane. Actually, this one has flowers on it, so I'm going to get some fruit on that one. But I'm going to be looking for the first year canes that I'll take the leaves off of a little bit later. Sorry about that background noise. Obviously I'm outside and at the mercy of what's happening in the neighborhood. Okay, so this is fennel. This has this silvery, purplish, grayish color on its leaf. Some people get fennel confused with dill or even chamomile, but you can see that it has a very distinct color in those leaves. And this one has gone to seed. My fennel plant, this is where it was last year. It was huge. It was about 8 feet tall. Got lots of seeds off of it, so I was able to save lots of seeds and let it go to seed. And this is all fennel growing here that fell from seed. Here's another little Echinacea plant. Big dandelion, that'll be a good root later this year. It's kind of crowding my lavender, so I might have to dig up some of it before then, so my lavender has space. So this is lavender. Again, I mentioned we live in the Intermountain West. We live in an area that's zone 4, so I try to get plants that are zone 3 in case we have a hard winter, and this was definitely a long, harder winter than we have had. So this is a Munstead lavender that is doing okay here. Let's see, I did have licorice root growing in here, and it grew well last year. This is the remains of it from last year. I'll have to wait and see still if it comes up this year. This is Boneset. This is another plant that you use the flower. It has lots of amazing antimicrobial properties. It also is used as a tea to help reduce fever. It's used when it's in flower also, so again, we'll take a video when that's ready. This is Ella Campaign. Really, really cool plant. Another perennial that needs to grow for a little while and establish itself before you use it. This is going to be its 3rd year. I could have probably used it last fall, but I didn't. I'll be able to definitely use the roots of it this year. So what I'll do is I'll dig it up, divide it up, put half of it back, and use and dry the other half. And then last for this part, well, this is Horehound. This is white Horehound. Horehound is used in cough medicines. And it went to seed last year. It has a really burry seed. So there's lots of little baby Horehound around here too. Last I want to show you my garlic patch. It's finally getting itself pretty well established. It needs to be mulched a little bit better. There is also some, so this is a variegated sage growing here. Thought it was really pretty. And then this is some hyssop. So that's what that looks like. Okay, I'm going to pause again while I move to another spot. Okay, this is elderberry. It's a young bush, but that's what the leaves look like. I might even get a few berries off of it this year. Wanted to point this one out. This is many times considered a weed. It doesn't necessarily have medicinal uses, but it does have food value. This is common name called crane's bill. I think some people call it heron's bill too. So it's got this teeny little purple flower. The reason it can be considered weedy is because of these seed pods. So this is the seed pod, and maybe you can imagine that as it gets dry, it's actually very sharp at the end. It's not now because it's still green. But when it turns brown, wow, those are sharp and they hurt when you step on them. But seed pods on many of these flowers and plants have a lot of protein in them. So good to remember if you were needing to find a food source, that seed pods have a lot of protein. Okay, now I'm back into my annual garden. It's going to get plowed next week, I hope. And I have to rest it this year, so I'll be covering it. It needs to rest. The soil does. So it'll be plowed and then covered. But I do have lots of cool things growing in here that I can show you before that happens. This is shepherd's purse. Very well-known herb used, especially for bleeding. It can be used as a tea. You use the entire plant, chop it up, steep it, and can be used for postpartum hemorrhage or bleeding, even after miscarriages. Before the flower comes up, this is what the plant looks like. Very useful plant. It is best tinctured fresh. Most plants are best tinctured fresh if you're using an alcohol tincture. Okay, I have to finish up this video so it doesn't get too long and I can get it posted. This is common mallow. It is in the same family as marshmallow and hollyhock. The roots of it are a good mucilage. In my tea video I talk a little bit about that, how because this is in my garden, this is the one that I end up using a lot. This is one that has the little cheesy, so this is what the flower looks like. And when that goes to seed, it's going to have those little cheesies, and that's what we used to call them as kids, is little cheesy seed pods. Those are also a good source of protein. I wanted to also show you this. The area that I live in used to be an alfalfa field. So every once in a while I still get alfalfa coming up in my garden. Because I don't spray my garden, this alfalfa, once it gets a little bit bigger, I will cut and dry for my own teas because it's packed with protein. I could use it in salads if I wanted. I could throw it in soups. I like it in teas because it's high in vitamins, especially in places where it's not sprayed. It's going to have a higher nutritional value. It's no wonder it's used for livestock. Really quickly going to show you my volunteer sunflowers. Also quickly going to show you some clary sage. It's not one of my favorite plants. It has a terrible smell, so I moved it to the back of my garden. That's what it looks like. I'll take another video of it when it's in bloom. And last but not least, this is mugwort, a plant that's commonly used in some formulas stronger formulas for antimicrobial, or even sometimes you'll see it even in anti-cancer recipes. So that's what it looks like. And again, I'll show it to you when it's in bloom. And now I need to finish, so my video doesn't get too long, but just wanted to finish with this view of these wildflowers that are going to be growing in my garden. Excited about that. Thanks for watching and have a great day.